Welcome to the Vietnamese Poetry, Literature channel. Today we will listen to the work, Distant Stars, by author Le Minh Cu. Let's listen. We are 3 people. 3 girls. We stayed in a cave at the foot of the peak. The road passes in front of the cave, goes up the hill, going somewhere, far away. The area was beaten with ulcers, the color of the soil was red and white mixed. The 2 roadsides have no green leaves. Only the stripped tree trunks were dry and burned. Trees with many roots lie scattered. Big rocks. A few distorted and rusty gas tanks or car sides lie in the ground. Our job is to sit here. When a bomb explodes, we run up, measure the volume of soil that must be filled in the bomb crater, count unexploded bombs and, if necessary, destroy the bomb. People call us the Road Reconnaissance Team. The name evokes the desire to create heroic deeds. Therefore, the job is not simple. We were bombed all the time. Sometimes when I crawl back from the peak, I only see 2 sparkling eyes. When he smiles, his white teeth shine brightly on his smudged face. At those times, we called each other, black-eyed devils. The unit takes good care of us. Why do you say, leave it to the scouts, they're deserted up there? That's understandable. The unit usually goes out at sunset. And works sometimes all night. And we ran on the peak all day. But running on the peak during the day is not fun. Death is a man who does not like to joke. He hides inside the bombs. I now have an unhealed wound on my thigh. Of course, I didn't go to the military hospital. Every job has its fun. Is there anywhere like this? The ground is smoking, the air is shocked, the plane is noisily moving away. Nerves are tense, heart beats regardless of rhythm, legs run but still know that there are many unexploded bombs all around. It may explode right now, or maybe later. But it will definitely explode. Then when finished, look back at the road again, breathe a sigh of relief, and run back to the cave. It's hot outside, over 30 degrees. When you enter the cave, you'll immediately be transported to another world. The coolness made my whole body shake suddenly. Then lean back and drink water, from a mug or a canteen. Mineral water mixed with sugar. After that, I lay down on the wet floor, lazily squinting my eyes, listening to music from the small transistor radio that always had a full battery. You can listen, you can think wildly. Looks like we're about to launch a big campaign. Every night there are cars on the streets. At night we get to sleep. But these past few nights, I can't. Everyone climbed up to the center, held a shovel, and said a few funny things to a certain driver. It's just miserable having to answer the phone in the cave. It's noon now. Strangely quiet. I sat against the rock wall and sang softly. I love singing. Usually, I memorize a certain tune and then make up the lyrics to sing it. My words were so messy and absurd that I was surprised. Sometimes I crawled out and laughed to myself. I am a girl from Hanoi. To put it modestly, I'm a pretty girl. 2 thick, relatively soft pigtails, a high neck, as proud as the sepals of a lily. As for my eyes, the drivers said, you have such a distant look. No matter how far it is, I like to look at myself in the mirror. It is long, brown, or squinted like sunlight. I don't understand why the gunners and drivers often ask about me. Asking questions or writing long letters to the phone line, pretending to be thousands of kilometers apart, even though we may greet each other every day. I don't care or rush. When my girlfriends gathered together to answer a good-speaking soldier, I often stood away, crossed my arms over my chest and looked away, my lips pursed. But that's just me. Honestly, in my mind, the most beautiful, intelligent, courageous and noble people are those who wear military uniforms and have stars on their hats. I don't tell anyone that. But the people who pass by this way often visit me respectfully and dearly. You sing well, you're okay, and you detonate bombs like a devil. My friends explained. Of course, that's not accurate. Outside is still quiet. From 10 o'clock in the morning, planes do not fly over rush hour. The bomb was only placed on the inside side, listening to the sound. It was that deep, seemingly delicate sound that came. The silence here was tense, as if signaling something fierce. The sun is very strong. Dry wind. But in the eye cave, No is embroidering pillows. Each child has their own preferences. No embroidered while Ms. Thou copied the song into a small notebook on her lap. The two of them were talking normally. I didn't listen from the beginning. I suddenly paid attention and listened. When will it be finished? No asked. What's done? Ms. Thou did not look up, but her voice showed surprise. No yawned. Then shut up. I know what it says. He will say, after the war, he will apply to join a large hydroelectric plant. He works as a welder and will become a volleyball player at the factory. It will beat really well. And who knows, maybe they will be recruited to join the Northern volleyball team. As for Ms. Thou, she wants to be a doctor. Her husband will be a soldier with the rank of captain, who travels far and has a beard. She doesn't like living next to her husband every day, because like that, love will quickly become tasteless. I also often talk about my plans. Many wishes. But I also know what I will choose mainly. Become an architectural engineer? Very nice. Narrating in a children's cinema, driving a bear cart at the port, or singing in a choir on a construction site. Everything is happiness. I will be enthusiastic and creative, like these days, on our peak, where dreams and desires are born. But, those are for later. After war. When the road we protect here will be paved with matte asphalt. Electricity will be wired into the deep forests and wood factories will not sleep day and night. The three of us all understand that. Understand because you believe with a strong belief. The pillow in No's hand is small and white. The grapes are embroidered with floating and flashy flowers. The outlines are as big as ropes. If anyone complains, No suddenly wakes up, so I just put the needle on as if nothing happened. When people criticized him very much, No pursed his lips, pulled with just 2 regular teeth, and raised his voice. Ah, let it float. The grapes are a bit special. Both gentle, cheerful, and stubborn. Those 2 things do not contradict but complement each other, giving No a rather rare characteristic. No has lived with me since the day I arrived at this peak. Lately, everything is funny. I was surprised when people told me to carry soil. Do young people volunteer like this? Carry the land? I don't imagine that. Young volunteers must carry guns and walk loudly under the moonless and starless forests. Speaking to each other must be strong and concise like slogans. But also carry the land. Then you get used to it. Many meals did not include soup, so the girls drank water and mixed it with the rice. Chan was so public and miserable that the boys cried out in pity. Hearing the first bomb sound, someone fell asleep and lay on the ground. But now I'm used to it. I arrived at the unit after No. That day, I bewilderedly placed my backpack on a tree log behind the barracks. The grapes are coming up from the stream. Wet hair. Water drops drop by drop on the forehead and on the bridge of the nose. There must be a lot of spring water. Can swim, I think. No stood still, just for a second, then slowly approached me, twisting the wet towel in her hand. He nodded his head and glanced contemptuously from the top of his head down to my muddy shoes that were rubbing against each other. Which unit is added? Where are you from? What's your name? Without rubbing my shoes anymore, I stood in a serious posture. During military training sessions at school, I learned martial arts. I put my hands on my sides, took a defensive position and pondered, should I give it a punch? Where to hit first? If it bounces back, I will gently press the acupressure point. Hand points. But No turned around, put his hands in his pockets, and nodded. go to the command board, and walk before me. Of course we paid a lot of attention to each other from then on. Gradually we got to know each other and became close without even knowing it. Both of them are 17 years old. The old kid gets angry with the new kid a little, it's nothing to worry about. I fell in love with No. Its personality is great. The boys are very arrogant but also very easy to tease. Like me, No likes to live freely. The two of them told each other, from now on, I will only love when I get old and won't want to get married. Getting married is very difficult. Diapers, blankets, sawdust, and fish sauce are no longer available underground. If you love him, you will take him to see a movie, soothe a little anger, and read books freely. No has an engineer at the mechanical factory. He writes letters diligently and often writes long letters that are tiring to read. In Hanoi, after all, we have more time than in the front. He clarified. No has a photo of when he was 2 years old, which he keeps. No wore black overalls, a wide-brimmed cloth hat, holding a handful of wildflowers, standing under some old cabbage trees. I've seen many things he sent No. He wrote, I am healthy now. Likes to play soccer and has muscular arms. I look at your picture when you were 2 years old and I can't imagine you now. I just thought, here you are, little girl, holding flowers in your hand. I will carry you out, buy you candy and ask, where else do you want to go? I will carry you. The engineer's thoughts were humorous. But we don't laugh when we read the letter. Solemnly, we looked north. There is Hanoi. We've been away for a long time. We miss the green city. We value quiet as memories. This is where our youth are growing up, but we never miss Hanoi. In Hanoi, I have a small room, second floor. My house is old and deep in the alley, with many trees. Those trees have been around for many years, and they are full of climbing mistletoe. At night, I sat on the window sill looking out at the dark, undulating rooftops and sang. I sang passionately and loudly. Next to him was the doctor, a man who had trouble sleeping, so he had to turn on the light and politely knock on the wall. There must be 20 nights like that in a month. I sat and waited for sleep to return to the doctor and gloated in my defense. Only I know how cool and fresh the city night is. Where did the doctor find this in those difficult dreams? And because I sang so passionately, I almost tumbled out of the window to the ground. When I slowly grabbed my hand on the door, I was stunned and looked down into the depths of the ground. There is a small faucet there that flows all night into the tank. The sound of water twisting together gave me the feeling that the water was about to overflow the window. I moved up, putting my legs inside carefully, continue singing, but sing more softly and listen to the tapping sound on the wall. A small table was placed in the corner of the room, which my mother rented for me for 2 afternoons. Every time I do something related to paper and ink, I pull all the books out of my drawers and briefcases, haphazardly placing them on the table and bed, even though those things are not necessary for what I'm about to do. I keep wandering around in that pile of paperwork, unable to do anything and unable to organize it neatly. Feeling so upset that I cried, I screamed loudly at my mother. Mom put down the sewing machine, ran in, grumbled, and left everything for me. She cursed, not very firmly, "What's yours, girl? Once married, no beatings. No beatings. That's why right at home I swore not to get married. So, are you ready?" "What?" I was startled. "I've been singing ever since." "Sing and think nonsense." No rolled up the pillow and quickly put it in her bag. Ms. Thou looked out the cave entrance. Indeed, reconnaissance aircraft. Life here has taught us what silence is. The silence from morning until now is not normal. That abnormality is coming. The sound of reconnaissance aircraft was deafening. Jets roared after. Those two languages mixed together, filling people's ears with a feeling of discomfort and tension. Coming soon. No turned his back to us and put the helmet on his head. Ms. Thou took a biscuit from her bag and leisurely chewed it. When she knows that what's coming next won't be smooth, she acts so calm that it's annoying. But when she saw blood and squeezing, she closed her eyes, her face turned purple, and her bras were all embroidered with colored threads. She often trims her eyebrows, as small as toothpicks. But at work, everyone hates her, determined and bold. Things that happen every day: fewer planes, bombs exploding. Explosion on the peak, about 300 meters from this cave. The ground beneath our feet shook. The towels squeezed here also vibrate. It's all like a fever. Smoke rose, and the cave entrance was covered. The clouds and sky are no longer visible. Ms. Thou took the ruler in my hand and swallowed the delicious biscuit. I planned to stay at home. This time he gave up a little, and it was enough for the two of us. Pull nose sleeve, put the shovel on your shoulder and go out the door. I don't argue with you. The authority to assign belongs to her. Time is starting to get tight. My brain is not lost either. What has passed and what is to come are no longer significant. What's the point if my friends don't come back? The phone rang. The company commander asked about the situation. I spoke harshly into the phone. The scout hasn't returned yet. I don't understand why I'm angry anymore. Another round of bombs. Smoke enters the cave. I coughed and had chest tightness. It's really deserted right now during peak season. Only No and Ms. Thou. And bombs. And I sat up. And anti-aircraft guns are located on the other side of the hill. Anti-aircraft guns are firing. The sound of gunfire on the ground was indeed effective. There is nothing more lonely and terrifying than when bombs scream all around without hearing a single response from the ground. Even if there is only one rifle shot, people still feel immense protection around them. That feeling is like finding yourself with a very strong ability to defend yourself. Impatient, I ran out for a bit. Couldn't see anything but bomb smoke. I worry. Suddenly, the nearby peak rang out with the sound of 12mm 7. That's great, it's an engineering battalion. They only gave aid to the anti-aircraft gunners and us. Suddenly I wanted to scream with excitement. There are so many people around this deserted peak. The anti-aircraft, information, and military engineers all loved us very much. We just need to fire a shot to signal for help and they will come right away. Half an hour later, Ms. Thou crawled into the cave. Calm, exhausted and irritable, she did not look at me. More than 1,000 blocks. Then sit down and drink water from the canteen. Water dripped from his chin into the pond, continuously like raindrops. I called back to the unit. Company commander said? Well, thank you. The company commander often uses delicate words such as, thank you, sorry, good luck. He is young, thin, often has joint pain, and often writes folk songs for the newspaper. The house is not like at the end of Low Duck Street. No, just bathed in the stream. That stream also often has slow-burning bombs. With wet clothes, No sat, asking for candy. I dug into my pocket and luckily had 2 lemon candies left, covered in sand and watery. 4 slow explosions, just a few. No put her hands behind her and leaned back completely. Round neck and small buttons. I want to hold it in my arms. It looks light and cool like a white ice cream cone. The company commander asked if we needed someone. I said no. As always, we will handle it all. Great, thank you. The company commander thanked him again. The whole unit is building a road for a missile regiment through the forest. Go from not sleeping. I'm going to now, please try your best. So I went out again. Frequent. A bomb on the hill. 2 grapes on the roadside. Ms. Thou, 1 fruit at the foot of the old berry tunnel. It's so quiet it's scary. The remaining tree is ragged. Hot ground. Black smoke hung in clusters in the air, covering up things from afar. Can you guys see us? Surely yes, they have binoculars that can take in the whole earth in their sight. I got close to the bomb. Feeling the soldiers' eyes following me, I was no longer afraid. I will not go stoop. They don't like the way they walk hunched over when they can just walk forward properly. The bomb lay cold on a dry bush, one end buried in the ground. This head has 2 yellow circles drawn. I used a small shovel to dig the ground under the bomb. Solid ground. The pebbles followed my hand and flew to both sides. Occasionally the shovel blade touched the bomb. A sharp, spine-tingling sound cut into my skin. I shivered and suddenly saw why I was doing it so slowly. Hurry up a bit. Hot bombshell. A bad sign. Or it's hot from inside the bomb. Or the sun is hot. Ms. Thou blew the whistle. So it's been 20 minutes. I carefully dropped the explosive package into the hole I had dug and lit the fuse. The mine wire is long and soft-curved. I cleared the ground and ran back to my hiding place. Thou's second whistle. I pressed myself against the picture. I slipped and fell. Flashlights turned on everywhere. They chased until the lights pointed in another direction. Bullets stopped whistling overhead. Trung just grabbed me, sat down, complained of thirst and asked to rest. I had to resolutely carry Trung up. Just walking a few steps, I looked back and was gone. I couldn't see Trung. While I was upset because I had to turn back and couldn't let my anger go, I heard a Chinese voice reply softly, "Come here and quench your thirst, Fuang." I searched again. Trung Duong struggled to stuff the towel into the crevices of the rocks to absorb water. Then Trung squeezed the towel over his face and opened his mouth to catch it. I can't blame Trung anymore. But I urged even harder to get out of this rocky mountain area as soon as possible. Trung invited me so earnestly. I followed Trung to pick off the buds that were covered in water. Wandering from one cluster to another. In the dark, only the sound of water sucking could be heard following each other. The chicken suddenly crowed in the village. Stop it. Morning is gone. My legs want to run but my steps are unsteady. Hungry. Just as we had learned from experience, the bright eyes of the Vietnamese were already squinting at their feet. The Viet Minh is gone, the big mandarins know everything. Ah, there it is. Will you come out? Will you come out immediately, or will the big man shoot you dead? Just stand outside the cave entrance and bark at the cave entrance. It was as if it had clearly smelled me. The only thing left is to wait for me. If you have the nerve to get out, your life will be over. But with us, Leloy, brothers, we have gone into their hearts. I sat and thought to myself, you guys are still standing with your snouts in the cave and barking, but we are already sitting with our legs on your necks. Truly, he sat elegantly on a thick sycamore tree at the top of the citadel wall, over 20 meters higher than the west end. Take off your belt, untie your pants, tear your pants, then find all kinds of ropes to make branches to cover your body. So just sit calmly and calmly. There is only the shush that prohibits speaking. Say it's a black dog or a yellow dog and if it barks, there's no way out. Trung and I still have one more thing to do. He raised his gun and aimed at the heads, bare chests, and sweaty black bellies, then lowered the gun and looked at each other in agreement. Don't come in. Save it for outside, you and I will see each other a lot. Get excited now, the wait is over. Below, they barked in fear, then gritted their teeth and shot continuously into the cave. Shoot until the officer hears the gunfire, then blink and run away. They go away. We ran out of games to forget. Sitting idle is like feeling thirsty again. How can I be so thirsty and miserable, damn it. If only we had pond water and sewer water right now. But how did we endure? Letting Mr. Trung keep bothering me makes me feel very sad. I have to let my uncle go get some refreshment with me. Hey Trung. Every time I followed my old lady to the bus station, I got a pair of elegant patent leather shoes. But I don't know if I'll have a cup of ice cream for 2 cents. But I definitely don't want to go. Just insisted on getting a pair of wooden clogs. Do you know what to do? To get in. Add lots of sugar. Mix thick. Ms. Thou said. After drinking milk, No fell asleep. Reconnaissance aircraft still dredged the silence of the mountains and forests. She leaned against the wall, her hands behind her neck, not looking at me. Sing, Phuong Din, whatever song you like, sing it. I like many articles. Marching songs that soldiers often sing on the battlefields. I like soft and gentle Kwan Ho folk songs. Shakyamuni Buddha of the Soviet Red Army likes to sit on his knees and dream, come back here when your hair is still green. It is a rich, lyrical Italian folk song, with a very deep voice. Like a lot. But I don't want to sing right now. I became angry with Ms. Thou, even though I understood what emotions were swirling inside her. She kept looking at No, using her hands to fix his collar, lapels and hair. I don't cry, I don't like tears. In general, on this peak, we do not like tears. Tears that flow in the face of each other's need to be strong are seen as evidence of self-humiliation. No one said it to anyone, but looking at each other, we read it in each other's eyes. Ms. Thou sings. This is Thang Long, this is Dong Du. Hanoi. The music was wrong, and her voice was sour. She couldn't sing any song fluently, but she had 3 thick notebooks to copy the songs. My free time is to sit down and copy songs. Even passionately copying words I made up myself. There was a cloud gathering outside the cave entrance. Another bunch. Then another group flew past faster and faster. The sky opened up in front of the black cave entrance. The storm comes. Sand flying blindly. The wind whipped up and down, burning dry tree branches. Leaves flying wildly. As sudden as an unusual change in the human heart. This season is often like that in the forest. Rain. But hail. At first I did not know. But then there was a clanking sound on the roof of the cave. Something extremely sharp tore the air into pieces. The wind, and I felt pain, my cheeks were wet. Hail. Parents. Hail. I ran in and put a few small stones in No's outstretched hand. Run out again, frantically happy. The year I finished 10th grade, there was also hail. At night, the rocks hit the wall and made a clanking sound. I opened the door, ran into the hallway, then ran to each room and knocked on the door, screaming like a crazy person. Oh my God, wake up quickly. Hail. And moaning alone. Only idiots stay in bed right now. The doctor was not stupid at all, but he solemnly declared. If you continue to make noise, we will have to take measures. And the teacher next to her sighed, sighing deeply. Mom, won't you let me sleep anymore? Only the worker driving the car downstairs stayed up with me that magical night. Later, he joined the army and became a heroic vehicle destroyer. He wrote to me, often mentioning the raindrops of the past and calling them, passing memories. Here, on this bomb-filled peak, there is also hail. But the joy of my youth bloomed again, passionately, full. No one has time to be angry with me. Ms. Thou is digging for something on the ground. Probably rocks. As for No, he stood up, his lips parted. Give me a few more pills. But it's gone. It stopped very quickly, like when the rain came. Why so quickly? I was suddenly stunned, regretfully unable to speak. Obviously I don't miss the stones. After the rain, it stops. But I remember something, maybe my mother, the window, or the big stars in the city sky. Yes, it could be those, or the trees, or the round dome of the theater, or the ice cream lady pushing a cart full of ice cream boxes, children eagerly crowding around. The asphalt road at night, after the drizzle, becomes wider and longer, sparkling with electric lights on the square, shimmering like stars in fairy tales about magical lands. Flowers in the park. The balls were kicked carelessly by children on street corners. The voice of the sticky rice seller announced that she had cabbages on her head. Alas, it could be all of those. Those are so far away. Then suddenly, after a hailstorm, they swirled like waves in my mind. People say we are Hanoi girls, can we be away from home for 3 days? But here we are, on this peak for 3 years. The drivers and gunners called each member of my unit by name, without confusion. As for us, we know who is brave and who is irritable. During the night, while we repaired the road, they threw us Nok Land toothpaste, perfumed letter paper, and lemon candy. Usually we don't know who threw it down because the car has to get through the key point quickly. But we pass on. There's a convoy coming in from Hanoi. Only those things exist in Hanoi. We don't pay attention to those things in Hanoi. Here, we feel happy when we hold a thin piece of scented paper, put it in an envelope, and send it to those who are still ahead of us. Lay. Ms. Thou screamed. As if I was suddenly punched in the stomach, I curled up and then lay down. Bomb. It seemed like it fell with a loud thud and then exploded. The ground was like a shivering giant. It seemed like there were thousands of airplanes flying overhead. I crawled into the cave. Ms. Thou crawled into the cave. Damn, don't let people breathe anymore. She mumbled. Slender, well-proportioned, hair falling over her shoulders, her scar hidden in the darkness, she stood, one hand resting on the line to dry her towels. If only she had a good voice, she would be better off acting in plays. Her figure on stage is also visible. But the voice is so sour that it's deafening. She admits that herself. Put the phone closer to the wire. No signaled. I brought the phone back to No, took the ruler and went out with Ms. Thou. Running so much injured my thigh and started to hurt. As long as you don't limp. Ms. Thou is very determined. Of course, she doesn't mind going to peak alone. Lots of bomb craters. We shouted and counted together mentally. Ms. Thou recorded it in the duty book. No time bombs, but quite a lot of land. A total of more than 2,000 blocks. Suddenly, as if something was pushing me hard in the back, Ms. Thou rushed forward, pinned me against her chest and fell to the ground. Suddenly, a huge mountain of earth crashed down on us. Chunks of wet soil mixed with dry debris dug from the bottom of bomb craters. Hot. Something held my head down. I sat down, kicked my feet down to gain momentum, sat. Breathing, sand in my nose. Shook his head. The ground falls loudly. All around me was leaden gray, heavy, billowing smoke. Ms. Thou is nowhere to be found. Ms. Thou. I tried my best to scream. But my throat is choked. The soil is thick in your mouth. Damn it. I spit out a lump of dirt. My hand touched Thou's hair. I turned around, pulled my hand away, then pushed my whole body forward and used both hands to scratch the ground. Ms. Thou was limp and could not breathe. She grabbed me by the back of my neck and stood up, staggering. No frowned like a baby. It happens again? Ms. Thou smiled strangely and gradually calmed down. Have a little fun. But it's okay. What the hell? There are 9 big and small wounds in her body. Confucian year. I have less, 4 stains. He had a serious wound on his abdomen and was detained in the military hospital for 3 months. Being buried like this is normal. I looked at my friends. Ms. Thou is very green. You're tired. No brought her a glass of water, used his little finger to break out the soil in her hair, and suddenly philosophized. Story, it's peak time. Ms. Thou burst out laughing, nodding her head towards me. Take the number and write it down so you don't get used to it. I dialed the phone. Ms. Thou quickly came to my side. Say everything clearly, but say that up here is still stable. It's not the company commander at the machine, but the company liaison. A hospitable, polite guy who doesn't smoke and doesn't like girls. Where is the company commander going? While commanding on the scene, the missile is almost over. But it's almost afternoon. No one can sleep. So guys? It's quite tiring. More than 2,000 cubic meters of land. From now until evening. We're still standing. If it's too much, shoot first aid immediately, do you hear? The unit always focuses on you guys up there. Shock will rise soon. In the afternoon, Ms. Thou and I had to run to the peak 3 more times. Destroy 8 bombs. As for the land, it amounts to 3,200 cubic meters. Every time I made up a story to let Ms. Thou stay at home. But she is very cunning, it is difficult to fool her. She ran, breathing heavily. Blue veins ran in small lines on her temples and hands. I'm so worried she'll collapse. As for No, he frowned. Every time we returned to the cave, we would come out again, repeating over and over again. Ms. Thou, Ms. Thou. The last time I walked like a cow back to the cave. Ms. Thou helped me lie down. I tried to open my closed eyelids, stuck like glue, and didn't know what I wanted now. I'm sleepy. I heard my voice passing by. Then the coolness of the cave filled my sleep very quickly. The unit's assault hill was at the road construction site in the forest. Probably before they had time to eat, they ran to the peak. The drowsy cough seemed to come from somewhere. They asked something, Ms. Thou answered. They teased No. No got angry and laughed. Someone else sings softly. There were a few strands of someone's hair touching my cheek. The sounds of breathing above, warm, envelop me. I felt like I was lying in my mother's arms. Hanoi people. I recognized the sound of the company liaison and woke up completely. He is also from Hanoi. Dad is an electrical worker. Mother is a garment worker. At home, he often skips school and often gets a 2nd grade. One time he rolled a bomb down a cliff and forced it to explode down there so it wouldn't ruin the road. He was polite, hospitable, didn't smoke, and didn't like us girls. As for us girls, we won't leave you alone. Hey, if you go out with your girlfriend, you'll make her cut her hair, wear a suit and black boots, right? He was confused, scratched his head, his face turned red. There must be exceptions to everything, ladies. Besides, I don't love anyone yet. I opened my eyes, it was dark in the cave. A small lamp was lit on the lid of the ammunition box. Uncle Ho's photo hangs in the middle of a large white sheet of paper. Under Uncle Ho's photo there is a cartouche filled with fresh flowers, always with flowers. The color of the flower petals under the light is unclear, someone must have just brought them to us. Priority, contact the company that is cooking water. His back was turned towards me, muscular like a mirror. But when he stood up, his waist tapered, like a table tennis player, nimble, agile and pleasant. There was a murmur coming from the street. It's time to have fun. Must get out. I put my feet against the wall and kicked hard. Both hands behind. I jumped up, pain in my thigh, throbbing. Headache and joint pain. But I can still wake up. Contact the company to help me. Are you crazy? If you're tired, go to sleep. Get out here. Go out. He smiled, thin lips, very even teeth and 2 big eyebrows, not going anywhere. First is sleep. Nonsense, sleeping with Niep. I mumbled and went to the cave entrance, groping like a blind man. It's not just me that's crazy, No has also disappeared somewhere. Ms. Thou was even crazier, I heard her laughing loudly at the peak. I saw No in a group of engineer soldiers. No told me it was almost midnight and the car was almost done. While I slept, bombs exploded on the peak several more times. But it's okay, because there's an assault team. At peak, the sound of bulldozers, hose and laughter echoed. Sometimes minds explode. Exploding louder than a bomb. The stars above my head were shaking, very far away stars, in blue drops of water, scattered across the sky. But when the election comes, it's so vast. I suddenly remembered a poem by an artilleryman. That poem was thrown onto the street when the artillery passed by. He called us distant stars on the peak. The stars are brilliant, but somehow, distant. We argue with each other and guess. Maybe he just wanted to pretend to be a writer, but he's already gone too far. I really want to meet that artilleryman. But the artillery group has been away for a long time. The bus runs at 12 midnight. The machine is crispy. The road is noisy. The driver in the fifth cabin saw us. Hey, Hanoi girls. I miss my mom so much. It seems that Mr. Thang is in the Quang Trung group. No whispered. Ice on its arm. Silent, round face, straight nose, it stood close to me, gentle and cool like a white ice cream cone. They told me I had to join the medical army. I thought it was bad. Daily injections, pills, meat porridge, you have to eat a lot. Oh my. Just like a young lady whining in bed. I thought you could catch me. It's so scary. It made a hiss sound, as if I was about to drag it to the military medical vehicle. He turned to talk to an engineer about the meteor phenomenon when he saw a drop of star falling down at the top of the forest, disappearing halfway. I crossed my arms over my chest and stood a little further away, not looking at the soldier but at an oncoming car. I'm just like that. But how can you say I'm not stylish? Could it be that, at this very moment, I would run to hold the hands of all the soldiers on this peak and burst into tears because of the joy and youthful happiness that was emerging? I love everyone, a passionate, hard-to-speak love that perhaps only those who have stood at the peak of these moments like me can understand. Cars are lined up, in blocks on the road, without lights. Camouflage leaves make each vehicle twice as big. To me, those convoys are always endless, I don't have the strength to count them. Long, many. Giant. Maybe you guys in Hanoi will come in tonight. No is still whispering. It's in the same state as me. Love all. The love of people in smoke and fire. The generous, earnest, selfless love that monopolists have in their hearts are soldiers. I put my arm on No's shoulder. We didn't say anything to each other. I squeezed No's small and soft shoulder under my arm. Here he is, brave, gentle, living in the same city as me and standing with me tonight, on that bomb peak near the front. We understand each other and feel happy. At the end of the work, please support me with the like button and subscribe to the channel to listen to more works.